the video game industry is a lot like any other industry. You kind of have to pick the trends and understand where things are going. It's very difficult, in my opinion, for these companies to go out there and go, okay, well, we're going to go chase a trend, or we're going to do this or do that. You have to really kind of guess ahead of times, and most of the time you have to guess, 10 years, even longer ahead of time, right? And we're starting to see some of that kind of happen with what's going on with Xbox right now. Like, Microsoft has done a pretty good job of making sure that gamers have lots of different interesting things to play, but at the same time, we also kind of live in a world where, gamers are going to also be a little bit fickle and things like that. So this really shows that Microsoft was thinking with a bunch of clarity where this is concerned, and I gotta say, it's really cool to see, even though it kind of also pains me to see it because it's something that I actually like. But at the end of the day, it really just kind of shows that they're kind of ahead of Sony where a lot of things are concerned. Let's get into it. I'm the Crap Gamer. This is Crap Gamer Reviews, back with another video. Thank you so much for checking it out. I do appreciate it. Slap that like button. Give me a good thumb in. I always like a good thumb in. Make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already done so. I would appreciate it. So, it's very interesting because I love VR. Right, I absolutely love VR. I think it's great. I bought the first PSVR. That was my first foray into VR. I had so much fun with that. I mean, I was sold on it right away. I did the little Batman demo, the Arkham demo. You're Batman. That's awesome, right? And then I jumped on the Star Wars Battlefront game, and there's a little like 30-40 minute game kind of thing where you're in an X-Wing. I mean, you're in an X-Wing. I was sold. I bought a bunch of games for it. I love it. I play VR quite a bit. Well, not so much lately, but a lot of people are surprised that I didn't buy into the second VR from Sony, even though I think it's great technology, right? But at $600, I feel like I'm the person that they should have been going after, and they should have maybe ate a little bit more of the cost on that. I think, at the end of the day, when you're talking $600 with the bundle with the game, that is a bit too expensive, and it's really kind of unfortunate that happens, but it does. And at the end of the day, I feel like they sort of priced themselves out of it. But now you're starting to say, oh well, look, it looks like Microsoft dodged a bullet there by not going with VR. But to me, it doesn't look like Sony's really representing VR very well anyway, or supporting it. So according to this, which it comes our way from Jez Gordon and Windows Central, which I'm going to link this in the description, it wasn't too long ago that Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella was fully immersed in the metaverse with Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, and they were talking about all this kind of stuff, Quest and all this kind of stuff, but Microsoft doesn't talk much more about the metaverse these days. The bulk of its recent redundancies revolved around the troubled mixed reality department, which houses Windows Mixed Reality and HoloLens, previously which was basically under a massive military contract. Armed Forces testers reportedly said that Microsoft's headset would get people killed in that field, while reporting sickness and other irritations from the military-grade HoloLens. While mixed reality technology is nowhere near viable for military use, according to this, one area where it is far more sensical is in the home. MetaQuest 2 headsets, PlayStation VR, and other manufacturers built a small but growing VR game industry where a few big players have made quite a hefty sum of money. Sure, it pales in comparison to mobile, PC, and console game ecosystems, but today's VR ecosystems could be compared to the early video game industry of the 90s, where budgets for games were smaller owing to a smaller install base. But according to this from Bloomberg, it projects that Sony's PSVR 2 headsets are projected to sell around 270,000 units in its first month of sales. For comparison's sakes, Xbox's Motion Control Kinect sold 8 million units in the first 2 months. It's a very clunky comparison, though given the Kinect was orders of magnitude cheaper. PSVR 2 retails at a mammoth $530 in the UK, $550 in the US, $600 for the version with the game. Unlike the fully wireless MetaQuest 2, it also requires a cable and a PlayStation 5 to power it, but these are sacrifices necessary to offer a premium high-quality VR experience. The problem is, it seems like nobody wants it. Well, actually, during the pandemic, according to this, he says he recalls recovering deals of Black Friday and Christmas, hunting down the best savings. And this was during the big chip shortage too, where PS5 and Series X and S consoles were practically gold dust. Even Nintendo Switch consoles were hard to come by, despite having chips that were far easier to source. One product they rarely found out of stock was Facebook's MetaQuest 2. And there's a big debate online about the business viability of VR as a platform. Facebook has increased the price of its headsets, which to me is a sign that the software attach rate just isn't there. Generally speaking, the console hardware like this, the products are sold for thin or sometimes even break-even margins. The idea is that you get people through the door, then sell them software digitally via your stores. PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, and Meta all use this formula for their platforms, but there's a pretty obvious flaw when trying to apply this to the VR model. On PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo, you can spend hours upon hours inside a single game. VR, by comparison, for most people is only comfortable for short bursts. Motion sickness is prevalent issues on VR, and it's still not something any of the major platform holders have been able to stop easily. Even without motion sickness, fatigue and wearing from strapped to your head can be a bit, cumbersome, obviously. So it makes console gaming lucrative as a model and the software, but VR a little bit different. So again, this is one of the things that, gaming is always going to be huge. Like for me personally, I love VR. I would like to pick up a VR headset, this VR2, at some point, but also I have to admit that the price point and the lack of backwards compatibility is a bit of a bummer. And, Microsoft, they were going to originally announce that they would support VR with the One X in 2017 before famously kind of going the opposite way and say, hey, we're not going to be able to do that, etc., etc. So for me, Xbox has kind of found its footing as a little bit, and again, this is something that they'll have to continue to talk about. But for me personally, I like the fact that they were able to offer these consoles at such a great deal or whatever. But am I upset that they aren't able to do VR? Well, listen. If the roles were reversed and say Microsoft were offering VR and Sony wasn't, people would be saying, well, Microsoft should really be focused on the hardcore games, blah, blah, blah. I feel like that would be the case. I think VR is cool, but I just think that there's not a huge audience for it on the console market for whatever reason. I think it works great. I think this new VR from Sony looks amazing, but when will it ever be something fully viable? That's a big question that I don't know if we'll ever really know the answer to, especially given the fact that it doesn't look like this VR is going to take off. So we'll have to see. I think that VR is cool. I think that VR is something that is pretty awesome, to be quite honest with you, but at the same time, I think that it's something that, gamers are kind of used to being without right now. So I guess we'll see what happens in the future. But I'm going to link this article. What do you guys think? Do you think Microsoft dodged a bullet? Would you like them to see them kind of jump into this? Let me know in the comments below. Please like the video. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crap Gamer 'em up. Thanks for watching. Crap Gamer out.